Hi, Amanda. Good to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
You're making me feel a bit inferior with your lovely background, and I have this amazing shiny whiteboard behind me, which someone asked me the other day, am I sitting in the toilet talking to them? No, not sitting in the toilet. It's a whiteboard.
I was going to guess kitchen. So one up from the toilet.
I know, I've got a bit of lampshade envy. That looks like a really nice lampshade behind me.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm sat in my dining room today, working at home.
I'm quite envious. Look, this is the only thing I've got to sort of decorate the whole room.
Oh, that's a bit sad.
Plastic lavender.
Doesn't look very real.
This is my life. Anyway, good to have you here, coming live and direct from your living room. Amanda, we're going to talk today about the dreaded interview, but we're not going to make it dreaded. We're going to make it something everyone's going to be really excited about, which will be cool. But before we get started, just tell us a bit about yourself, your background, share anything you want, really.
Okay.
And then we'll get stuck into tackling interviews.
Yes, tackling interviews. No one enjoys interviews. Okay, so I'm Amanda Paradine. I am a career and success coach. I set up my business about a year ago now, and my focus is on helping people who are stuck in their career. So either they want to make a change and they've got no idea what they want to do, or they really have a clear idea about where they want to get to, but they just don't know how to get there. So I work with them on a plan of action, so identifying where they want to go and helping them get there. My background is in human resources, so I spent 20 years in corporate, working as a human resources manager, and I specialised in recruitment as well for much of that time. So I've spent lots of time the other side of the interviewing table. So I'm very pleased to be able to share my experience of what those interviewers are going to be looking for when you're sat opposite them today. So yeah, when I'm working with people, we do work on the very practical stuff. So things like we're going to be chatting about today, the interview coaching, how to put a CV together, how to plan a job search strategy. But also we work quite a lot on mindset and confidence, which can be an issue when, particularly if you've been made redundant or you're in a difficult situation, your confidence can take a bit of a knock. So I work with people on helping boost their confidence, mindset and self-esteem, and helping them really reconnect with their natural skills, their natural strengths, and what they want life to be like. So helping them plan a future for themselves that's aligned with where they actually want to go, and that plays to their natural strengths and things that makes them happy.
Yeah. Brilliant. Simple as that.
Exactly.
And I think it's really interesting, as you say, you've come from the HR background. So what goes on behind the scenes can sometimes intimidate people, and they have different views of, you know, like what's going on, how are people going to be assessing me, and they get so worried about, you know, how am I going to perform. They kind of forget it's actually about them and their moment to shine. It's not about form. So yeah, it'd be great to get your insight on what really goes on behind the scenes. We don't probably want to know what really goes on behind HR, do we? But sharing your wisdom.
A lot of people worry about being judged when they go for an interview, because they, you know, you are there, you're kind of laying yourself bare, and you don't get any immediate feedback normally. But one thing I would say before we start with the 5 things is that the interviewer wants you to do well. They're not there to trip you up and to try and trick you. They really want to draw the best out from you, because, you know, they've set aside this time. They've invited you for interview, so they think that you're potentially able to do the role, and they just want to get to know you a bit better. So if you go into with that mindset that they're there to help get the best from you, that's useful.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. I mean, we see sort of the media headlines every now and again, you know, someone gets called out for their awful interview, that CEO of the startup and stuff. But the point is, yeah, I mean, that's his loss. He was trying to trip someone up, make it feel awkward, and therefore he didn't get the best candidate. So you're right, you know, you've got to remember they need you to perform as much as you need them. It's a two-way thing. Yeah. And neither party should get that wrong. So yeah, that's great advice. Oh, we're on to advice already. We're right in there.
We're right in there.
Right. So 5 things. Our aim today is we want to make people listen to this and feel like, oh, actually this interview thing is actually enjoyable, or actually I can deal with this. It's not quite as bad as what I think. So looking forward to it. So share. First thing, what's your first piece of advice for someone? They've got the interview, so well done them. They've got through that first stage. What's next?
Okay, so yes, very well done on getting through. So CV's worked, or your application has worked, and now it's time to put your money where your mouth is and go and sell yourself, which sometimes feels very scary. But if you can prepare for the interview as well as you can, then that will make you feel more confident. And I'll chat through 5 things you can do to prepare yourself for that interview, so that you are putting yourself out there in the best possible way and feeling confident too. So first thing to do is to research the company. You've probably done a little bit when you applied for the role. Go onto the company's website. Have a look for something that resonates with you that you could potentially talk about at the interview. Often you will get asked at an interview, tell us what you know about us as a company. And if you can have seen something on their website that interests you or resonates you, that you can talk about. So perhaps the company, allows their employees a day a year to go and do some charity work. You might think, actually, that's really cool. I want to kind of say that I really liked that. So you can say, you go onto their website, find out a bit about them. And actually, I was particularly interested in the fact that you offer a day a year for your employees to go and work for a charity, because it shows that you've done more than that cursory look at the website. You've actually found something that you connect with, and you know they're there as representatives of the organisation. And if you can say, look, I really like the sound of your organisation, they're part of it, and it's kind of flattering them as well. So I think that's something that you can really do that really impresses an interviewer off the bat, because it's usually one of the first questions that you'll get asked.
Yeah.
Other places to do some research, get onto LinkedIn. See if you can see anybody else who works there that you may be connected with already. You know, what type of things are the organisation saying? What are their employees saying? You might be able to get a feel for the culture and the values of the organisation. Again, just useful information to have in your back pocket for the interview. There's a website called Glassdoor. I don't know if people have heard of it. It's a little bit like TripAdvisor for employers. So you can go on there. People will give their reviews of interview processes with the organisation. Existing employees will give reviews as well about what's great about working there, what may be not so great about working there as well. But it's a bit of a warts and all review of the company. So that's somewhere else I'd recommend looking. So just try and gather up as much information as you can about the organisation, its values, its culture, so that you can talk comfortably about what appealed to you about the organisation and what you know about it, what research you've done about it up front. Always impresses an interviewer. So just spend a bit of time on that.
And it sounds obvious when you say it, but I've interviewed lots of people. We've all interviewed lots of people. How many people don't do it is absolutely mind-blowing. I remember going through a huge big recruitment drive, and the questions that people were asking afterwards were about the business that you'd think, surely you kind of know this through your research. But then the very first question, just to kick off, about why did you apply for the job? you know, that's a good basis of using your research to say, well, you know, I know all about the business. But yeah, people literally just the answers. I remember one lady said, well, I've heard of the business, so that's quite good. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, it's not to be underestimated how much, if you do that prep work, as you say, and it'll give you a good indication if it really is a good match for you. The job might look great, but, you know, check its values out.
Yes, yeah, and important to say there, I think that an interview is a two-way process. So as much as they are finding out about you, and if you're going to be a good fit, it's for you to find out if the company is going to be a good fit for you as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So like it. So the message is, don't underestimate the power of the research. And and I love that bit about just finding something that connects with you as well, that you can talk passionately about. That's a brilliant tip. Love it.
Yes,
cool.
Good. Okay, so more prep. So tip number 2, more prep. Prep. So this one is about preparing to answer some of the questions you're likely to be asked. So there's a style of interview called competency-based interviewing, which is it will be asking you for real examples of things that you've done that demonstrate that you meet the requirements of the role. So for instance, let's say on the job description they're looking for someone with problem solving skills. You might be asked a question that says, can you give me an example of a time when you've had to solve a really difficult problem? So even if the interview isn't going to be competency based, it's still a really good idea to prepare examples of things you've actually done in the past that meet the requirements or the skills listed in the job. So communication skills, whatever it is that's listed in the job advert, think of an example when you've demonstrated that skill, because it's a really powerful demonstrator of how you're likely to behave in the future is how you've actually behaved in the past. And if you can give a real world example, so if they said, well, you know, tell us about your problem solving skills, if you can say, well, let me talk to you about a really difficult problem that I solved in my most recent role, it's really powerful. Rather than using kind of hypothetical examples, well, maybe I'd behave in this way or I'd do that. So think of some real actual examples where you've actually demonstrated the use of those skills. Also, prepare examples, some of those difficult questions that you know you're going to get asked. So think about, you know, what are your strengths? So that's it's a nice question. It's your time to shine. What do you want to tell them? You know, what are your top strengths? And think about how they match with what they're looking for. The age-old, what are you not so good at? What are your weaker points? And I think there are a couple of ways in which you can answer that one. You can answer it with something that you're maybe not so strong on, that is nothing to do with the role whatsoever, so it's not a skill that you'll be using in the role. Or a good way to approach that one is to have something that you were weaker on. So let's say presentation skills. You can say, well, actually, I recognise that I wasn't quite so confident in presentation skills, so I asked my employer if I could go on a presentation skills course, which I'd done, and now I feel much more confident. So that's kind of showing, you know what, I know I'm not perfect, I had this weaker area, but I've actually done something about it, and now I feel much more confident.
That's brilliant. I love that. So you wouldn't recommend someone saying, oh, I just can't, my weakness is getting up.
No.
Which is actually what someone said to me in an interview.
No way. Oh, dear.
I get the good one. I've had some good examples, as you can tell, but yeah, that was impressive. I never get up. I don't like getting up. I never get to things on time. It was part of the graduate program. I should say that it wasn't obviously a senior management position.
I wouldn't recommend that.
You never know, but yeah. But it was like, oh, okay.
And I'm sure they were probably thinking as it was coming out of their mouth, why am I saying this?
Do you know, I don't think they did actually. I think they genuinely thought, well, you asked me what my weakness is and I told you.
Okay, well, I guess that's in their favour.
The joys of interviews. But yeah, that's great. I love that tip about demonstrating what perhaps you've already tackled, and you're also demonstrating that you're up for learning and development. And that's really key, isn't it? To sort of come into an interview and pretend that you're the fully formed thing all ready to go can also not work in your favour. So to demonstrate that you're open to learning always is really powerful.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, tip 3.
Tip number 3 is to just become a little bit aware of your how you communicate. So I'm not sure how many of you know, in terms of our influence and how we communicate, what percentage is made up of the actual words we use, our tone of voice, and our body language. So Eleanor, if you had to guess, what percentage of how we influence someone is made up of the actual words we speak, how much would you guess?
Yeah, okay, so how much are we saying? Let me get 50-50? Don't know,
okay.
Guess.
So actually the words we use is only 7% of our total influence. 7%, yeah. Which is bad, isn't it?
Why do we bother speaking then? Why would we bother?
So
just turn up, sit there.
The 7% of how we influence, how we communicate is
that's incredible.
So the next biggest area is the tone of our voice.
Yeah.
And that's 38%. And then the biggest percentage of how we influence is our body language, which is 55%.
Yeah.
Of the total influence we have. So let me give you an example. So Eleanor, if I said to you, I'm so excited to be here today, you know, you wouldn't believe me. So my words are saying one thing, but actually my tone of voice is telling you a completely different story.
Yeah.
And our body language, because it's so big a part of how we communicate, just think about how you sit. So when you're in the interview, you know, don't kind of curl up in a ball, you know, sit comfortably, sit with your shoulders back. And I know it's really hard when we're feeling nervous. The temptation, certainly for me, is to talk really quickly. So I will sometimes kind of fiddle with my hands as well, if I'm feeling nervous, and that is a big indicator to the interviewer that I'm feeling nervous. And also it's communicating to me, to my brain, I'm nervous, so then I feel nervous and I need to panic. So I will just sit on my hands, just tuck my kind of fingers under my hands if I know I'm going to be in that kind of a situation, to stop that kind of body language leakage, if you like. So just, you know, even that you might want to kind of practice with a friend, just with some of those examples that you've come up with, sit down, have a practice with a friend, talking them through, and then ask for some feedback on your body language and your tone of voice. So try and match your tone of voice to what you're actually saying. So if you're really enthusiastic about a project, you know, let that come across in your tone of voice. And that's really powerful in underlining, you know, the type of person that you are, that you do get enthusiastic about things, but also that you're speaking truthfully about the thing that you're describing. Yeah,
that's amazing. I love those stats. That's quite something to think about, isn't it? It's really powerful. I did, for a minute there though, I did get that kind of flash of Train Spotting in my head when he goes for the interview and like talks. Obviously he's but you know, he talks so fast that my leisure is your pleasure and all that. But you're right, you so want to share everything that you know or want, or you so want to convince them that you just endlessly sort of start talking, don't you? And you speed up to try and get as much in as possible, when really the interviewer is kind of like, okay, calm down. Let's listen to what we're saying. But yeah, that's great tips. So yeah, being aware of sort of how you're coming across and you position yourself.
I'll be, you know, make sure you really listen to the question. So you may go in there with what you want to say and what you want okay, but actually, what do they want to hear, and make sure you're actually listening to them. And there's no harm in saying, sorry, I don't quite understand what you're asking, or just to clarify what it is they're looking for. Don't be afraid to do that either, but make sure you're giving them what they're actually asking for.
Yeah, that's a great tip. The other one that someone said to me, I'm not sure what you think, but when someone offers you a drink or water or something, to always accept that. Don't say no, that's fine, because actually it will then help you if you consciously kind of take a that slows you down as well and just gives you time. So take the drink and then just remind yourself to have a sip every now and again.
A little bit of thinking time. If you're asked a question, you can just pick up the water, particularly if you've got a dry mouth.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, that's a really good idea as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it just helps slow it down. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so are we on to? Did we just cover 4? I'm not sure if we're ahead of ourselves.
I think we've done 3.
3. Okay. 4.
So 4th one is about preparing yourself to get into a confident state, so that you can go into the interview. You're going to be nervous, I mean, accept that, but just to get yourself into a state where you're feeling much more as confident as you possibly can be. So a good thing to do is to just spend some time before the interview, just thinking about a time in your life, possibly at work, but when you felt really, really confident, when you felt really calm, when things have been going well for you. So maybe in a meeting, maybe an interview in the past that's gone really well. And then just spend some time, just shut your eyes and just take yourself back to that point in time and really feel that feeling of confidence. Kind of, what were you seeing at the time? What was around you? What could you smell? What was going on? What could you hear? And just relive that moment in your mind. So it's really, really vivid. And then when you need to, just before the interview, just take yourself back to that moment in time where you felt really calm, when you felt really confident, and just immerse yourself in that feeling again before you step into the interview. And you'll find that will help. Just taking yourself back. You felt confident in the past. You know that you can do this job. You're there. They think you can do it as well. So just get into that confident state and walk in. Again, the whole body language thing. You make yourself tall, broad, make your shoulders broad, stick out your chest a little bit, and that will make you feel confident as well. So if your body's telling you I'm confident, you'll feel confident as well. And if you can take yourself back to that nice, confident, calm place and use that as you walk in as well, that will be really helpful too.
Yeah, well, look, you're making me a bit conscious of how I should be sitting now. I'm slouching. It's not the way. Yeah, that's really nice. That's a nice thing to do in the car park, actually, isn't it? Take a bit of it's so important, and it doesn't have to be nervous. You don't have to associate that word with an interview. I mean, it's the only time in your life really that you can genuinely just go on about yourself.
But some people find that hard. Not everybody likes talking about themselves.
Yeah. So in which case you need really good questions. That's what I would if you don't want to talk, ask the questions. That's for sure. Brilliant. So final tip.
So that leads us very nicely on to have some questions to ask in the interview. So
it's like we planned this and we really didn't, so that's amazing.
You will get asked, if there's any questions you'd like to ask, please don't say no. So, even if by some chance they've covered everything that you could possibly want to ask, have some questions prepared, and have some questions prepared that aren't about the salary, that aren't about how much holiday do I get, so some good questions to ask. And I would be very impressed as an interviewer if I was asked these are, what challenges does the role face? So I'm not coming in thinking this is going to be a bed of roses. Talk to me about what the difficulties might be. And from your perspective as well, you want to know, what are you going into? What are the more difficult areas of this role? What are the challenges going to be that I'm going to face? Another good one to ask is, how do you measure success in the role? So that shows them that you're thinking about, I want to do a good job, and I want to understand how you measure that success in the role as well. How would you describe the culture of the organisation? Culture is a big thing, and if you're looking for an organisation that is flexible, that's going to fit with what you want and how you want to work, then that's a good question to ask as well. And listen to the words that the interviewer is using when they're answering that question. So, think about what it is that you want in terms of values from an organisation, and then listen to what actual words that they're using. And also, how are they dressed? If you want a kind of fun, relaxed environment and they're in suits and ties, then that is telling you something about the culture as well. What would be expected within the first 3 months of the role? So again, a good one to ask, because it sets expectations. You might think, oh my God, this is not for me. I can't do that in 3 months. Or actually, wow, yeah, I really I'm excited about that. And then another good one to ask, and I've used this one in interviews, is ask the interviewer, what do you like about working here? Yeah. It's kind of an off the cuff question. They haven't got time to prepare a bit of corporate speak, and hopefully you'll get a real an honest answer. And I think you can sense when someone's being genuine through their body language. So have a look at their body language and their tone of voice when they're answering. But yeah, ask them what they like too. So pick 2 or 3 answers, questions to have at the end. And what you can do as well, I would often write my questions down in a notebook. And if by some chance they do literally answer every single thing, what you can do is kind of pull out your notebook when you're asked if you've got any questions and say, well, I did have some questions prepared, and you can open your book so they can see, but actually you have actually answered all of my questions today. But I think that's highly unlikely if you put a bit of thought into what you want to know.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. Even if they have covered what you're curious about, there's always something you can ask just to show that you're still in the game, you're still interested, and it's showing your insight. It probably goes back to what you said at the beginning about research. Yes. So if you've got something about the business, you could say, oh, I saw that the business was doing this. That's something that's ongoing. Make a comment on that. That's a great tip about the questions. Have you ever had what's the most random question you've ever been asked when you've been interviewing someone? So
I was asked what book I most recently read, and that was a kind of left field question. And I've seen people that I'm working with now, you tend to find that you might get a left field question that you can't have prepared for it, and it's to see how you kind of think on your feet. And luckily, I'd read something that wasn't really embarrassing to kind of so it wasn't like a Mills and Boon chick number. It was a great book. It's called, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's by I can't remember her name now actually, but it's called Feel the Fear.
Louise Fay.
No, it's not her.
Oh.
But anyway, I'd read that quite recently, so I was able to kind of give an embarrassing answer about a book that I'd read. So
I love it. You do get some random, definitely. And again, it might be just part of the culture, it might be just part of the fun, and that's part of it. Certainly at Virgin, they did used to throw in a few fun stuff. It wasn't to catch you out, or it wasn't like the Google assessments where they're sort of not trying to catch you out, but it really, it was questions just to add a bit of fun to it.
I've heard of, if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be? that kind of thing.
Oh my goodness. And then maybe it's like control your facial expression when someone's asking you that as well. I wouldn't be very good at that. Like, what? Yeah, exactly. I love it. Oh, that's brilliant. So the whole summary is try and embrace the interview, try and prep so that you can actually enjoy it. Yes. And I mean, the theme out of all of your 5 things to me is you're in control. You're in more control than you actually think. It's not like they've got all of the cards and you're just kind of at their sort of, mercy, their process.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got control of this, and with prep you can really feel quite empowered by it.
Yes. So don't be frightened, don't be scared. They're there to see if you're a good fit, but you're there too to see if they're a good fit for you. You are in control, and you do have that power. And if you've prepped well, there's no reason not to feel confident, and to go in there and do your best and show up as best you can.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that advice. So final thing, have you got any great interview stories to wrap up? You know, we've all heard of interviews that not went wrong. I'm not going to say they went wrong, but things happened to people. I mean, one of my friends tripped on the stairs and her shoe fell down through the stairs onto the desk below, and she cut her leg. So she had to go all the way down the stairs, pick up the shoe, and then go into the interview, which she got the job, by the way. But you know, that kind of thing, you know, roll with it. Things happen. But exactly, what's the best story?
Well, it's one of mine, actually. So it was many years ago, and I was kind of very early in my career, and I went for an interview, and I remember exactly what company it was. It was a company making mayonnaise, of all things, locally. And it was sort of pre my HR career, so I think I was going for a job as an office assistant. And I went into the interview room, and the chap was sat behind his desk, and he had his dog, and it was this massive, like, Alsatian Husky cross sat under the desk, and it was like doing it was kind of, it was baring its teeth, and I just couldn't. I mean, I'm quite a doggy person. I do have a dog myself, but I just couldn't believe it that he'd got this dog under his desk in the interview. And I thought, well, I don't want to work here. I don't want to be, I don't want to, you know, come into an office and worry about being attacked by a big dog. So yes, that's my
that is very random, isn't it? Maybe that was part of the selection, like the dog basically was telling him
within 7 seconds, no, she's not the one.
He growled, you're out.
There was a bit of you know, a lot of companies have the kind of the company dog, the office dog now, but I mean, you wouldn't have one like that stalking around.
No. Oh my God. No, I love it. That is random. Well, thank you very much, Amanda. Where can people find you? Have you got a website? Are you on Facebook? All of that?
Yes, I've got a website. So my website is very imaginatively titled amandaparadine.com. So you can find me on there. I also have a Facebook group, which is for people feeling stuck in their careers. It's called Get Unstuck and Supercharge Your Career. So love to have you if anybody would like to come and join us. So yes, that's where you can find me. Brilliant. Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for your time. I will let you go to your very glamorous living room and thanks, Eleanor. And let me get back to my, whiteboard with all my ideas on it. No ideas. Thanks so much for having me today. I've really enjoyed it. Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.